We're joined now by Graeme Edgeler, who is, he's my legal go-to guy. And we're talking about the Māori Party because Graeme made some excellent comments over the weekend. And Graeme, this isn't entirely cut and dry. We had Judith Collinson on Friday. They said we're going to suspend the two more senior MPs for 21 days without pay, and Miss Maipi Clark gets 7 days. And she basically said, we report this back, the House votes, and it's a done deal. Is it that simple?
No. I mean, there's a slight mistake there. It's not without pay. Well, it's not completely without pay.
Oh.
They lose 73% of their pay. They keep 27%. This is one of those times where it's sort of how the maths works. It's just for each day that you're suspended, you lose 0.2% of your annual salary.
Okay,
so when you
all right.
math that out over 365 days, if it was the full year, you'd lose 73%, so you lose 73% a day. Yes, which is something that it took me a while to get them to add. They used to think, speakers would tell people when you're suspended, you don't get paid, and it was never true.
Okay.
They only added that very recently, which is one of the things Terry Brownley alluded to. Oh, there's more consequences than there used to be, because when they passed the law back in 2014, I put in a submission and says you should add this bit too, and
and Graeme, are they allowed to go to Parliament buildings, to the Parliament, or just not into the debating chamber? I'm wondering also, you're banned, you're not allowed to come in.
They'll be allowed in the building. Won't be allowed in Parliament or Select Committee. In the House or Select
Committees. Okay, but basically they can go around. They can go to their offices. They can undertake all the MP work or electorate work they want, as long as it doesn't involve going into a select. Okay, so all right.
Which is why there is still a bit of a salary. Was the reason given at the time? It's like you're not losing. You've still got work to do.
Okay. Now, how severe is this? Has anyone ever been or potentially been suspended for this long?
No, not in New Zealand.
Okay.
If you go to other countries, you go to the United Kingdom, if anyone remembers Partygate with Boris Johnson and his lying about, sort of COVID lockdown parties and things like that, there was a recommendation from the UK Parliamentary Privilege Committee that he be suspended for 90 days.
Yeah. Yeah. Now,
and that was the second highest in there. But in New Zealand, the longest suspension for contempt of Parliament that anyone seems to be aware of is 3 days.
Yeah. All right. Now, the Privileges Committee have met. They got a majority decision for these sanctions. They report back to Parliament. Because they represent a majority in the Parliament as well, it is highly unlikely that this will change, isn't it?
I don't know. I think there is a reasonable chance that this will change.
How?
Just because the government might decide, just have second thoughts, basically. Even if it thought this was a good idea.
Come on. Come on.
Look, I'm not saying it's
Seymour. Well, maybe Chris Luxon will have second thoughts because he's a bit of a wokester, but there's no way Seymour and Winston get to take their feet off the throat of the Māori Party.
I think I agree with you there, which is why I suspect, it won't be the sort of the full back down. It won't be, the reasonable chance is not what Labour suggested, which is 1 day. So maybe there's somewhere in the middle. Maybe not 21 days.
Oh, come on. The National Party would pay an incredible price politically if it were to soften the sanction, and they are the only people likely to do so by not supporting
I agree
the sanction in the House. And I think the political price for that is too high, Graeme.
You might be right. I do. I'm not saying I know what's happening.
Yeah.
I think there will be discussions whether they think they can swing it. And part of the coalition type thing with, as you say, ACT and New Zealand First, that's why I'm less confident than I would have been otherwise. I mean, one of the reasons you do have this being slightly unprecedented is it's been a long time since the Privileges Committee has made a recommendation with a bare majority. Sort of you go to the Julianne Genter thing, the Tim van der Molen thing. The last time we had one of these was Winston himself, if anyone remembers the donations to the party fund and whatever
the
it was.
and Cushing stuff, and that was a story. Yeah. Look, the other thing is, Graeme, I think it's kind of weird the way that Jerry Brownley has come out and said you may have been too harsh here, and he is facing an enormous amount of criticism for getting involved in this. Surely it is the business of the Privileges Committee and Parliament itself to talk about that, and it's not up to the clerk's office or to Jerry Brownley to be opining about it.
I thought that's Jerry Brownley doing his job. Like, you know, he was very clear, like, it's up to the Parliament. Like, reminding everyone it's up to Parliament or up to the House. You know, this is a recommendation. Yeah. And so it's important they know that. And, you know, sure, if you don't follow close, if you follow close, you know it's a recommendation. But, you know, given the fact that it was a narrow majority on the Privileges Committee, unlike, you know, sort of the other recent ones we've had, Julianne Gentleman, whatever, it was, you know, everyone agreed with the consequence, including the Green MP on the Privileges Committee. Yeah. And so you had similar with Tim van der Molen, the National MP, and all those others. So it's like, actually, there's some disagreement on this, so there are some consequences for how it's going to play out in the House. You should know that. And that's what he was telling him. Like, and because this is, you know, 7 times longer than any suspension has ever been, and because it was a bare majority, which is unusual for a Privileges Committee recommendation, which are usually unanimous, that suggests we're going to have more of a debate than we normally do.
Okay, I hear. When is the debate? How long has been set aside for it?
The debate will be after question time. And
tomorrow.
So there's a rule in standing orders. You know, once a report comes back from a select committee, you just set it down and the government decides when it is. But if it's a Privileges Committee report, it takes precedence over all other general business. And
so it goes
first thing that happens, you have Bill's introduction and whatever, you have question time, and then you just move on to general business. And on Tuesdays, it's government general business, and on Wednesdays, it's, you know, this Wednesday it'll be members general business, and it's just, you'll get to it first because, and that's one of the other rules Jerry Brownley was pointing out. It's like, this is going to start. And the rule is, everyone gets to speak, well, it's an unlimited debate. So it's speeches of up to 10 minutes.
Oh, God.
Everyone gets to speak once, but at any point, you know, and they have these debates occasionally, someone can move that the motion be now put. You know, I think they changed the words they use for that. Move to close debate. Yeah. It's up to the speaker or whoever's sitting in the speaker's chair to decide, am I going to accept that motion now? If he does, put it to the House. They vote yes, you go to a vote, the final vote. But no, it's too early now. And he was saying, like, he was telling them it's going to be a while. And you also have the funny thing, and it's happened a few times this term on these sorts of debates. Once the